So, I have to say that this is my third in a series on Bituach leumi. I did Bituach leumi, the overview. Then I did Bituach leumi, what your children's benefits are. And now I'm doing Bituach leumi for older adults. And I have to say that this is my favorite Bituach leumi. I don't know, I got the most excited about it uh, when I was planning it, when I was putting it together. So I don't know, I don't know who else finds Bituach leumi fascinating, and especially in older adults. But anyway, I had a good time preparing it. So we're going to talk today specifically about Bituach leumi and the rights of what they can benefit for you if you are a healthy, God, thank Bezrat Hashem, thank God, healthy adult over retirement age, and also if you're going to need further assistance as you age, what your options are. So I also realized in the past two Bituach leumi presentations that I did this month, I completely forgot to mention myself and who I am. So for those of you who know me, this will be repetitive, but for those of you who don't, my name is Aviva, and I am a certified patient advocate. I actually have a master's in public health. I worked in the field of epidemiology and health research for a number of years. I worked in health promotion and community health in America. And then when I made Aliyah, I worked in health research. And for the past 15 years, I have been working as a patient advocate, and I guess really for the past 8 years, specifically with the English-speaking community in Israel. So I have been working with Bituach leumi and with the healthcare systems pretty much my entire time in Israel, which at this point is almost 30 years. And in addition to that, which I don't mean, I am a mother of 5, a grandmother of 2, and I'm also the guardian of my mother who lives with me because she has Alzheimer's dementia. So that is sort of me in a nutshell and how I come to this both professionally and personally. So we're going to jump in, but just in case, make sure we're all on the same page here with what is Bituach leumi. So Bituach leumi is the government's hand that is in charge of all of our health and social welfare. So that means that basically the government says, okay, we're going to guarantee health for all of our citizens, basic health care, what we do through the basket of services, but we obviously can't be the direct provider. So we're going to give the money to Bituach leumi, which is a national insurance agency, and that agency will be responsible for the healthcare. And then Bituach leumi subcontracts out to the 4 health funds, the 4 kupot cholim, but it comes under the auspices of Bituach leumi, all except for a few things, but we're not going to get into that right now. But for the most part, all of that goes through Bituach leumi and through the kupot cholim. So it's not only your health care, but it's also all your other social welfare benefits. So for example, let's say pre-retirement age, you could be eligible for unemployment or maternity leave, or you got in an accident other than a car accident, you could be eligible for a one-time payment from Bituach leumi. So there are, let's say something happens and you can no longer do your job, you can apply for retraining through Bituach leumi to give you, they have different educational training programs to retrain you to do something else. So that is, in a nutshell, what Bituach leumi is, and it's responsible for all of our healthcare from 0 until 120. But most of us know Bituach leumi through the specific benefits or kitzbot that we can receive from them. Some of the benefits are not connected to your financial situation. For example, as I spoke about last week, kitzbat yeledim, anybody who has a child under the age of 18 receives a monthly stipend, modest but present, from Bituach leumi, just for the fact that you have had a child and that you live in this country, you live in Israel. However, much of the stipends that are granted from Bituach leumi, you must meet 2 significant criteria. This is for disability prior to retirement age, and we're going to talk about this also when we talk about when we're talking about after retirement age. So you must demonstrate that you are earning below the financial threshold. By financial threshold, I mean that there is a number that goes up every year according to inflation. slightly goes up, but that is the threshold under which you will be eligible for all or some of the benefits, and over you are not eligible for the benefits. Now, this is income that is both active, let's say you're still working, and as well as passive, if you are getting, let's say, Social Security benefits from the United States. We're going to talk about that more a bit further on when we talk about some of the myths of Bituach Leumi, because I know a lot of people have a misunderstanding about how much or how little you can earn, etc. And the second is the medical need. So you must demonstrate to Bituach Leumi that you meet the criteria for the medical need. Now, it is different for a disability application for an adult, for a child, and then also for getting long-term care benefits through Bituach Leumi. So that's important to note that each one is different, and whether or not you'll be eligible is different. But as we're going to get also, it's very important to apply because the nuances, it's very nuanced, and I wouldn't want you to miss out on getting your benefits because you were assuming something that was incorrect about your medical or financial situation. Okay, now let's take a step back and we're going to talk about just clearly what are your retirement benefits that you get from Bituach Leumi. So I get this question a great deal. Okay, so Kitzbat Zikna or Kitzbat Ezrach Vatik is now they're calling it, or the stipend of a senior citizen or an older person or an older adult, or take your pick, are dependent on your age. It's different for a man and a woman, and you can see here on the slide, I don't have to read it to you. Whether or not you're going to get the full kitzbah, which is the kitzbat zikna, the regular one, or if you're going to get the kitzbat zikna miyuchedet. Now that is something for people who made aliyah at a slightly older age. And I see that I have a bit of mistake here. For a woman, it's if you made aliyah between 60 and 62. So not prior to age 60, but between 60 and 62, depending on how, if you are still working, depending on how much passive income you have, you might be entitled to kitzbat zikna miyuchedet, which is a reduced payment. I will tell you from my experience that it is relatively little money and can be a bit of a headache to get when you're miyuchedet, but you should know that theoretically it is an option. And a question that I get often, if you have not worked in Israel, meaning if you made aliyah to Israel after the age of retirement, which currently is 62 for a woman, but soon it will be 65, so it depends how older you are, or 67 for a man, you are not eligible to kitzbat zikna, not miyuchedet, and not ragil. So that's important to note. Now, for some reason, which I have yet to understand, the mailing system of Bituach Leumi hasn't yet quite caught up to the legal system of Bituach Leumi. So it seems that many older adults who aren't in fact entitled to this kitzbah will get the paperwork that says you could be entitled, please apply. So if you know that you made aliyah after retirement age, then don't waste your time. And if you are in this gray area, then, feel free, you can always, there's like lots of nice volunteers, Bituach Leumi, you can go ask them, you can call them, you can send us an email, whatever you would like, to see if you're now eligible. And if you made aliyah beforehand, it depends how long you've been here. Sometimes you have to complete your residency months before you can apply. So that's an extra caveat that you can be aware of. Now, if you are getting income from Social Security from the United States, you report that on the form. If you are getting rent from any properties that you own, either in the United States or any other country, or in Israel, then you also need to report that. If you have savings in the United States, I get this question a lot, you do not have to report that on the form. There is not a place to report that. Again, these are people who made aliyah prior to retirement age. Okay, now, in just in a nutshell, I keep saying this, like, what is the retirement benefit, but retirement benefits, but this is the stipend that you're entitled to. It's a basic one. It's a basic pension that then gets additional additives on top of it, depending on how many years you paid into the system. So that means a woman who made Aliyah before retirement age, even if she didn't work in Israel, entitled to the basic retirement stipend, the sort of the kernel, as it were, with no additives. If you were working for an American firm at the time that you were in Israel and you were not paying into Bituach leumi on that job, then you will not be entitled to the additional additives, the additions to your stipend, even though you were working in Israel, because you weren't paying into the system through your tlush. So that's also important. So if you were working under the table or you're working outside of the country, then you're not going to be able to get those that extra payment on top of the stipend. And now it is it's pretty straightforward to apply. You are now they have the online form is online form is a bit clearer. Sometimes you still need to fill out the paper form, but for the most part, you can fill out the online form. It's pretty straightforward. And I recommend to anybody who knows that they fit the criteria to apply. To apply. Worst case scenario, they'll say you're not eligible, but I always say just apply. You're not going to lose anything. You're not going to get penalized. No one's going to come after you. It's not, with an arrest warrant. You'll be fine. So I always recommend to apply. Which brings us to the heart of my talk that I wanted to talk about, which are the long-term care benefits of Bituach leumi. And those are what they call the Gimlat Siud. So the word Siud is nursing care. Oh, and I have a little typo there, I see. And this is the benefits that you can get for home health care in Israel. So it's not anywhere else. You can't use it outside of the country. If you meet the criteria, that, as we said, remember we said we have the financial thresholds. We have to make sure that we don't earn more than X, which for a couple this year, I think it could be a little bit more, but I think it was 24,500, so 24,500 a month. For a couple living in Israel, you can't earn more than that, shekels, not dollars, shekels. And then you won't be eligible if you're earning more than that. By earn, I say you have Social Security. If you have Social Security and a private pension monthly coming in from the United States, then it could be that you won't be eligible. But again, do the calculations. I've had a few cases of clients who were so on the threshold that when the dollar changed, they were eligible, not eligible, eligible, not eligible, which is a bit of a mess. But hopefully that won't be the case and you won't be so on the edge, so that you can see. So there's the financial component. And then there is the physical component, which is different than disability. And I think that this is really something that is not clear to people, meaning when you apply for disability to Bituach leumi, you are approaching them with all your diagnoses. I have Crohn's, maybe I have fibromyalgia, I have a heart condition, I have diabetes. We present with the condition, and that sort of that we can demonstrate if it's severe enough can bring us to the disability. But here for long-term care, you're focusing on function. You need to demonstrate that you have a dysfunction or an impairment in your ADLs, which we call the activity, not me, the field calls the activities of daily living. What are your activities of daily living? They are dressing yourself, feeding yourself, personal hygiene, bathing yourself, mobility, and the ability to be unsupervised. Those are the main elements of ADLs. So if you are going to apply for Gimlat Siud, then you need to demonstrate that you are impaired in one of those areas enough that you need assistance. So that's really when you get the medical declarations from your doctors, you need to focus on those issues. Another important thing that you should know is that if you live alone, you get an automatic point, and you get different points, or half a point or a point for each sort of element that you have. And if you if you live alone, then you get an extra point, which can raise your level. And if you have, let's say, your spouse who needs supervision, they have a diagnosis of the beginning of, let's say they have Alzheimer's, they have mild or moderate cognitive impairment. Let's go with moderate cognitive impairment, which basically means that they really can't be alone for long periods of time. That's already time that you can go apply for Gimlat Siud through Bituach leumi. But the most important thing is to demonstrate that you need help with these activities of daily living. Now, I will also tell you that your initial application, in order to really make it strong, shouldn't rely on a family doctor, meaning Bituach leumi does not want to hear from your family doctor alone. They want to hear from the orthopedist who says that you have difficulty walking. They want to see from the neurologist that you have some kind of cognitive impairment. They maybe want to even have the report from the nurse saying that you are having difficulty dressing yourself in the morning, etc. So those are really the focus. The family doctor can write a summary letter that summarizes all of the other issues from the other doctors. But initially, unless your situation is quite clear, you really should be you really need to have letters from other experts. And that's where a lot of people go astray, and then they think that they're not going to be eligible for Bituach leumi because they said, oh, they dismissed me. But often that's because you just brought a letter from the family doctor, and that isn't enough. Now, it used to be that you would submit all your paperwork, and they would actually send out somebody to your house to interview you and evaluate you and determine whether or not you were meeting the criteria. During the pandemic, they stopped that, and I think they realized that they were doing just fine without the home visit, so they've stopped that as well. So what they do is they review the medical criteria, then often they call the person who's listed on your sheet as your additional contact. I get a lot of calls from Bituach leumi asking you to evaluate the person and say what it is that you think is their issue. And then also and then they'll call the person themselves. Obviously, if they're not able to talk, then they won't, but they call the person themselves. Now, I will tell you that it really used to be that even if you could demonstrate that you needed help sort of cleaning, you could no longer really do cleaning, or you could no longer do the shopping by yourself, that they were much more amenable to giving you level 1 or 2, which means like a few hours a week, plus sometimes a modest financial money stipend. But that I see, again, anecdotally, nobody's told me anything, but I see since the war that they are much stricter. So people who I know would have been accepted right off the bat are rejected initially, and they're basically, I think, waiting for you to reapply. So you should just understand that they're a bit stricter now about who they're determining. They're really looking at the ADLs, you physically, not that you need help in the house, but that you physically can't take care of yourself to some degree. And they will and then if for some reason they reject you, then I do recommend that you apply again, because usually apply again and you have strong letters, it can go in your favor. And I think we're going to come back to this, let's see, nope. I had a slide. Oh yeah, the 6 levels of care. Okay. Yeah, that's just important to understand that the level 1 is it can be anywhere. It's they changed it, but I think it's 4 hours a week. Don't quote me on that. But a week of somebody who comes to your house. You hire this person through an agency, meaning up to level 4, you get hours through an agency. So anywhere from 4 to 12 hours a week, maybe it's 4 or 17 hours a week that you get that you can either take part of those hours as, let's say, as a cash, it's not really cash, but as a money payment every month and take fewer hours, or you can take them all as a home health care, but it all goes through an agency. And that's also important to know. Now, the agencies, technically, what they do is they send you the list of the agencies in your area, and you're supposed to contact them. But I think in the background is somebody who's got a connection to the agency in Bituach leumi, who gives a heads up to one of the agencies. This person just got granted, because they call like almost immediately. But again, you are not bound to go with any specific agency. Even the agency who calls you and tells you, you're not bound to go with them, and you're not bound to stay with them. Meaning you get to choose the agency who's going to bring you the home health aid. And sometimes it works out and you find somebody who's great, and other times you don't, and you have to play around, or not play around, that doesn't make sense. You have to shop around. But I will say is that because the pay grade is pretty low, that often what these agencies do is they will tell you, okay, you get 10, we're going to give you 5, and we're going to pay the worker basically twice as much so that we can get the worker to come in. So you should know ahead of time that that's sort of the name of the game in terms of the home health aid. Now, I just wanted to dispel some myths here before why we're talking about this, because it's very important that I hear this all the time. Okay, so first of all, I haven't lived in Israel long enough, so I'm not eligible. This is true for employment. This is true for if you want to get retirement benefits sometimes, but it is not true with Bituach Siudi or Gimlat Siud. Sorry, not Bituach Siudi, Gimlat Siud. What that means is that the minute you make Aliyah, or if you're a Toshav Chozel, the minute you're re-recognized, you are eligible for this care. Doesn't matter how long you've been here. Wait, I should put that as a caveat. You technically are not supposed to apply for any Bituach leumi benefits within the first year of making Aliyah. Why? Because you're getting other benefits. You're getting the money from the Sal Klita, the Ministry of Absorption. You're getting rental assistance, etc. And as they say in Hebrew, ein kefil hanachot, meaning you can't get 2 types of discounts. However, if you make Aliyah and your situation is very grave, meaning let's say some people make Aliyah with somebody who's really wheelchair bound or needs bedridden, as it were, you can apply within 3 months. You can apply for the benefits, and sometimes they will give it to you ahead of time before the year is out. Especially if you're going to need level 5 or 6, which is the level where you can be eligible to bring in a foreign worker. So just remember that you are always eligible to apply. Second, people tell me, no, I don't have this, I'm not going to do that. I had a friend who she had so many problems and she applied and she was rejected. And first of all, you never know what other people are saying, what other people are doing, or what happened to them. So don't think about your neighbor and her situation, and if that's going to determine your situation. Second of all, as I said previously, a lot of it has to do with the medical information that has been submitted to Bituach leumi, meaning just having your family doctor write off a letter that says, you need help in the house is not going to be strong enough, especially if you are under 80. And I'm going to be straight with you. So you need to really bring in the neurologist, the orthopedist, trying to think maybe that also the nurse, if the nurse can fill out a report in the what's it called in the clinic, if you have multiple issues that are really affecting you, in order to demonstrate to Bituach leumi your issues. So again, don't just automatically assume, pursue, and bring in the right papers and submit. And the good thing is, if you submit and you're denied, you can submit 3 months later. And if you submit and they give you a low level, then you can submit again and say there's been a hachmara, or a worsening. If you can demonstrate, maybe there's been something significant that you need to have more care, and then you can submit again. So you really have no limitations. I had a client who literally we submitted, I think, every 3 months for over a year until he finally got the next level up. Okay, this is what I hear so many times, not just about nursing care, but in general, like for also for disabilities, that you need to hire a lawyer. Please, 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 you don't need to hire a lawyer. It's like just handing out your money, just like giving it away here. You have some money, you have some money. You don't have to hire a lawyer. They take percentages. It's painful. There's really no need to hire a lawyer. Every once in a while, you have a very complicated situation because maybe who even knows, but with finance or whatever, but again, and 90, I'm not going to give a percentage here, but most of the time you don't need to involve a lawyer. You need to fill out the form. You need to have somebody who understands the form to fill out if your situation is not clear cut. Meaning if you're like basically an oncology patient and you're getting chemotherapy, and you're really not feeling well, then you don't have to, you just submit the paperwork and you're done. If you have a little bit of a cardiac problem and you've got some orthopedic issues and you had a hip replacement surgery, then those things, so then you might need to have somebody who understands a bit better to make sure that you're submitting all of the accurate information. Another important thing that I want to mention now is that you can apply for Bituach leumi Siyud temporarily before you have an operation. So let's say you are 70 years old, you are about to have your hip replaced, you live alone, or let's say you live with your spouse. You can submit the application for care a month before your surgery. Say, I'm going to have this kind of surgery, because you know that you're going to need help in the house if you're not planning to go to a rehab center afterward. So you can apply for a home health aide. You can do the process. You can already arrange it. Sometimes you can even so technically, or I should say theoretically, the agencies, you can contact them. This is what a lot of people do. They apply for you for Bituach leumi, and then they arrange your hours and your care. So I will tell you, if you have a few hours, if you're only going to get level 1 to level 3, maybe, sometimes it does help to just go through an agency because they can do the paperwork and then they'll find somebody. Really depends on your geographic area, because there are a lot of areas where nobody's going to do that for you because they're not interested in the benefit. However, once you get up to level 5 and 6 and you're considering having live-in help, strongly recommend to separate yourself from the agency. You don't need them to get Bituach leumi for you. They take a very large cut. There's no reason for it. You can get all the money directly to your bank account, and then you can pay the worker directly. You have to pay the agency a minimum fee of 80 shekels a month if you have a foreign worker. That's a whole nother lecture. We're not going to talk about that. But again, you don't have to have them if you're level, 5 or 6. If you're having somebody come into your house to help you out a number of hours a week, then yes, they need to go through an agency. Another important point that you should just know is if you are blessed with, let's say, a lot of grandchildren or nieces and nephews, or let's say, I don't know, a cousin, etc., who wants to help you, they can help you and they can be paid by the agency. They submit their hours, you can pay them, and they can be your care person. They can be your helper. So that is for sure a possibility, and you should make sure that you look into that if that's a possibility in your life. Okay, and the last thing is I hear also, well, I don't need somebody to live in, so like, what's the point? No. So that's level 5 and 6, but level 1 through 4 can offer you anywhere, again, from 4 to 17 hours a week, which can be extremely meaningful to help you, especially if you are just suffering the slings and arrows of age and feel like you are just not, you just need, extra hands, especially for those people who live alone, or there's an older couple living together, but you don't have, other younger people around. So that's very important to know, is it can be really helpful. Yes, I'm sure you hear stories from your neighbors and your friends who said they got somebody in and then she left after a day and then they couldn't find somebody and then they got somebody, but she couldn't speak English and then the other lady only spoke Arabic and it was very confusing. And yes, for sure. Those stories definitely exist. there is a level of investment and you have to shop around sometimes. And you also, but there's a ton of agencies around. You don't have to stay with the agency. You can go to a different agency. Now, depending, sometimes if you live in a yeshuv outside of a city, you are much more limited. This is for sure. This is definitely a problem. Sometimes I have these dreams that like maybe I'll start an agency just for the periphery, and like use young Israeli people who are looking for jobs to do those. But yeah, that is a dream. But you should know that you should definitely apply because it can be helpful. Okay, so in addition to the benefits, so I said we can anywhere from 800 to 6,000 more or less, depending on your level of function. And again, your financial situation, sometimes you might be eligible medically for the full hours, but they're going to have it because of your financial situation. You also get the ability to apply, you can apply for a disabled parking tag. So that gives you can park in handicapped spaces and gives you more variety closer to the entrance. And also that sometimes you can also get discounts on car registration and licensing fees. But again, that depends on your financial situation. And the last one is also important to know is people don't realize that you can get a discount on your Arnona, level 6. Maybe in some cities it could be level 5, level 6, and also electricity. Now, electricity discount only comes when you're level 6, and that's important to know. But you should definitely apply if you have somebody in your home who is ever or yourself or level 5 or 6. And another thing that I wanted to say about that is that um, if you're going into a care facility, first of all, if you're in the hospital, you still receive your full benefits from Bituach Leumi. That's important. So even if you're hospitalized for a month, you get all the benefits. If you go into a long-term care facility that's a skilled nursing facility like Siud Murkav, then you no longer get the benefits. If you are going into a Dio Mugan, an independent living facility, then you still can, or even a Beit Avot that you're paying for privately, you can still get your Bituach Leumi stipend in most of the cases. So that is important to know. Okay, so what do we need to do? I was gonna make a checklist, and then I thought like, nah, it's a bit too much. It's too late in the hour, too late in the day for a checklist. But the most important thing that you need to do, so first of all, if you are, haven't applied for your retirement benefits yet, if you're doing it under 70, you get less money. So people are saying that's if you can hold off till 70, because then you're going to get more money. If you've made Aliyah before retirement age, as we said, don't forget to apply. Even if you're not sure what you are, you can shoot a question off to me. You can ask Bituach Leumi. Don't not apply because you're not sure what grouping you fit into. If you think that you need help at home, let's say you're going to have an operation, you're an otherwise healthy adult, but you're going to have your hip replaced, you need help at home. And let me just tell you, it is not for a week. You need help at home for 6 weeks. So you need to make sure that you have a plan, especially if you live alone or just with your spouse. So it is a good thing to apply for Gimlat Siyud beforehand. They'll give it to you temporarily for 3 months' time. If you need more assistance, you can always extend it, but at least you get some help for 3 months' time. If you think that you are suffering in your activities of daily living in any way, then I suggest that you get a letter from the expert who is connected to that problem. Together with the letter from your family doctor, you can go online to Bituach Leumi and submit, easy peasy. If it's something that you feel overwhelmed with, or you've done it in the past and it hasn't worked, that is something that we do at Health Advise. Feel free to reach out, contact us, ask us. We have a set fee that we charge for form filling and following up with Bituach Leumi, no percentages. And I don't take anybody who I don't think will be entitled to some benefit. So if I review your paperwork and I say, no, I don't think you're eligible, then I won't submit. So that is the most important thing to do, and also to follow up, because sometimes they reject you or sometimes you don't know. And the most important thing is to make sure that you follow up, and don't let things not fall under the rug. That's not the word I can think of, but under the rug. Anyway, so this is our contact information. I try to be short and to the point. I wanted just to focus on Bituach leumi for older adults. That's over retirement age. Obviously, there's so much more to talk about. Long-term care in a facility. We can talk about having a live-in worker. We can talk about getting a permit to live-in worker. We can talk about Bituach leumi and how you pay the worker, etc. There's so much to talk about. If you guys are interested in hearing those topics, then please, you can put right now your email in the chat, or you can also send us off an email to info@healthadvice.com, or you can send us a WhatsApp to the number I have listed on the screen, and say that you would like to have those particular issues discussed, and I would be happy to discuss them with you.